Okay. After our little break, I'm going to go ahead now that it's 7:30. We can call our Fairfield RTM December 8th, 2025 informational meeting to order at 7:30 p.m. And so I know we just did this, but for good order, we're going to do all these things again. I'm going to now take the roll. So Peter Britton, Doug Niffin, Melissa Longo, Brooks Baracino, Scott Pasang, Tara Cook-Littman,
Here.
Craig Diamond, Gil Larson, Ashby Dodge, Ann Fiffick, Mike Hardigan, Cindy Waldron, Jen Howhuth, Laura Carson, Michelle McCabe, Liz Zezma, Betsy Elrick, Josh Garskoff, Sharon Pastilli, Jay Walk, Emma Barron, Rob Blanchard, Eric Druniak, Tracy Rodriguez, Steve Barrett,
Here.
Lori Galdenzi, John Kuhn, Scott Nickel, Lenny Brayman, Chris Carroll,
Here.
Rich Jacobs, Eileen O'Reilly,
Here.
Drew Georgiadis, Lisa Havey, Amanda Morgan, Karen Wackerman,
Here.
Matt Ambrose, Justin Contrado, Pierre Ratsky,
Here.
and I forgot myself, Margaret Horton. All right. And so again, we'll stand for the pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation. We're going to have a slight change to our presentation order. So we're going to start as planned with Ken Brockfield, and then Chief Waya is going to actually go after that. And so just to give you a little, that there's just a little change in our order. So first up is Ken Brockfield to give us a report from the Joint Retirement Investment Board, which is agenda item 3, and backup begins on page 1.
Good evening, everybody. Is this mic working?
As long as the green light is on, you're good.
So I'm going to ask you to bear with me a bit. Between myself and Betsy Brown, there was a bit of a miscommunication. The document that you guys got, I'm not going to refer to directly. I'm going to go off of the fiscal year end report, which is what I think I'm actually supposed to be reporting to you guys. And then I'm going to also give you a brief update past the report you guys got, which I think was September 30th, and I can actually give you some updates to October 30th. So even further up. And obviously,
And I think you might need to make the mic a little closer.
Sorry. And
no problem.
Obviously, if you have questions regarding that document, I can try to refer to those too. But I think this is what you actually need to know. So as of, first of all, everybody here, I'm sure one way or another, sees the markets on the TV or the radio or in the newspaper and knows it's been a very strong year in the markets, stocks and bonds. So I'm happy to be able to come up here and give good news. We had a return of almost 12%, 11.76% in the pension combination pension plans. And for the OPEB, even stronger, almost 14%, 13.86%. Those are extremely strong numbers, probably quite a bit higher than what would be expected from historical norms based on our allocations. And it was driven because basically what doesn't often happen is that all the markets were strong, meaning equities, fixed incomes, alternatives. And then a big development for us, I apologize, is, and something I frankly was wrong about for 1 year, is we had a big return from the international markets, right? The international equity markets have been horrendous for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years even. But this past year, in fact, the international equity markets were a little bit stronger than the U.S., which is unusual, has been unusual. So we got a big kick from almost all the different markets that make up our allocations. I guess I could stop and ask, see if there's any questions there. It's just good news. So I don't have much
Okay,
to, go into in great detail unless there's question. I apologize.
great,
Yeah.
thank you. Hold on.
Mhm.
Representative Kuhn?
John Kuhn, District 7. The returns that you talk about, are those gross or are those net of fees?
Those are net of fees. And our fees are, the two answers are, A, they're net of fees, but also our fees are very small, with the exception of the alternative products.
What are the fees on the alternatives?
Well, I can't really, that's an almost impossible thing to answer. On the alternatives,
Yeah, let me
Yeah.
rephrase that
Yeah.
question. Are we paying 2 and 20
no,
on those kinds of
no,
things?
we are not. We are not.
So we're not directly investing in those fund vehicles. We're investing in some entity that
The-
invests in some kind of fund of
Yeah,
funds.
yeah,
And that's not a fund of funds, that's 2 and 22 and 20. That's just,
Thankfully, no.
Okay.
One of the things that, so we switched from Vanguard, which wasn't our choice. They went out of the business and we switched to BlackRock, which has been a very good relationship, by the way, so far. And one of the things that we did get from Vanguard, and my predecessor, Carolyn Tribuco, did a fabulous job really hammering them on the fees for the private equity portion that we have. So we're still in Vanguard's private equity product, HarborVest. And we're in at I really don't remember the exact numbers, but we're in at a very favorable.
yeah, I just want to make sure it's not the
No.
2 and 20.
No, it's not that.
And
But none of these products the alternatives are always going to be high fee products, right? They're not like the index funds where we're paying 2 basis points. Yeah.
the benchmark that I see, it's pretty close to what, I mean, when I look at the,
Yeah.
and if we're net of fees, does that mean that, how should I compare those two numbers? Our net of fees return, which is almost on top of their, is that a gross equivalent to
You mean the
benchmark?
benchmarks?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a benchmark, it's an interesting, I'm not even sure how to answer that. I mean, a benchmark doesn't really have fees by definition. So I think it's comparable.
So then in essence, on a gross to gross basis, we're doing better.
Say that again?
On a gross to gross, we're net
I mean, between
return.
the two.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And again, I want to emphasize very strongly that this is an extremely unusually strong year. I mean, for us to return almost 12% in a diversified, extremely conservative fund like we have, and almost 14% in the OPEB is something that's fabulous, but unlikely to be repeated in many years.
And so, thank you. It was at it, Representative Kuhn. So I've got so far on my list, I've got Representative Carroll, Pistilli, Fific. And so as new members, you might not realize to please just make sure to introduce yourself and your district. So I had next was Representative Carroll.
Oh,
District 8.
Oh, and press the mic.
I got a brighter green light now. Didn't change colors. Chris Carroll, District 8.
okay. Hello again.
Yeah, 12 and 14, you know the numbers.
Right.
It's a two-part question. What had you projected? And how do you manage what I assume by your delight, a surplus versus what you projected? How do you manage that versus a year and a half from now when it all crashes? How do you
Right.
manage that?
So I'll give you two answers to your first part of your question. So we have a discount rate, right? We have a discount rate, which is something that is set annually, unless, we don't often change it, which is 6.9%. That's an actuarial rate. And that's the, you know this, that's the number that is used so that related to the performance we have versus that 6.9 is what's going to determine the contributions the town's going to have to make when the Board of Finance meets and the actuary tells them you have to put in X dollars into the fund because we're not 100% funded. We're about 84% funded. So that's one answer. But I guess the second answer, are you asking me personally or as a board? Because as on a personal level, I don't think we should have any targeted rate that we're looking for. We're trying to put together a common sense, diversified portfolio that is going to allow us to get the returns that the market delivers. The market has delivered returns over, 100 years, 150 years that have averaged out to something. That doesn't mean that, the old saying, previous returns are not indicative of future returns, which is implied in your question, second part of your question. So I purposely would never tell our advisor we want to make 8%, you know what I'm saying? Because then you can get yourself in trouble, because then you could start getting more aggressive than is necessary, or is prudent, I should say, actually. So next year, the stock market might return 4, the bonds might return 3.6, the alternatives might return a little better, 9.2, and might blend out to 5.3, and that's what we get. We have no control over it. Our only control, and your only control as an individual investor, is to put together a portfolio that makes sense for your situation, right? For you, or most people here, as you get older, you're going to have to set up your portfolios to meet different goals as you retire and want to do this or that with your money, and probably get more conservative as you get closer to retirement. We don't have that constriction, right? We're our view is infinite, because the pension fund continues out 20 years, 40 years, 60 years, 100 years. So that's one big advantage that a pension fund has versus an individual investor. We can keep the same level of aggressiveness long term, whereas an individual probably can't, unless they have so much money that it doesn't matter. You're welcome.
Thank you. Representative Pistilli.
Sharon Pistilli, District 5. I had a question, and I'm hoping you can,
I'm
here,
sorry.
sorry. I'm hoping you can refresh my memory on this. When Carolyn Drabrugo came before us, she had explained that we were going to be outsourcing the function of the chief investment officer. So is that what BlackRock's doing?
That's exactly right.
And so
OCIO.
we have a lot of members of the body who are new. So I was just wondering if you could just give a short synopsis
Sure.
of what the change in admin was over the last, couple of years, just so we have a little background.
Sure. And then when I finish that, I'll be happy to give you guys a brief update to where we are closer to now. So Vanguard was our previous advisor. About, let's just call it 2 years ago, they let us know that they were exiting the business. And we put together a committee, which is when I got re-engaged. I've been on the board previously. Carolyn asked me to come back and to help with the selection of our new OCIO, Outsource Chief Investment Officer. And we did all our due diligence. We interviewed several candidates and so forth. In fact, we even hired an advisor to advise us on making this decision. And Carolyn did a great job. She got Vanguard to pay for it. And $75,000. So BlackRock is our OCIO. They are not our discretionary OCIO, if that makes sense. Meaning they don't just go ahead and do what they want to do and tell us about it. They are our partner, and we work with them. We give them the direction that we want to go as a board, and they come back to us with suggestions and recommendations. And at the end of the day, it's our decision. So if they were to come back to us, just hypothetically, and say, we think, BlackRock's research says that international stocks are going to do way better over the next 5 years versus domestic, and we think you should make some changes to expose yourself greater to that, we would obviously listen to it, think about it, discuss it, and vote on it. But it just wouldn't be their decision to do that for us. So there is a difference between purely discretionary, but we do depend on them greatly. They're obviously doing all the work that we can't do, meaning the statements and the keeping, all the numbers I'm giving you are coming from BlackRock, right? It's not the volunteer members of the board who are doing that. They interface with the actuary. They deal with Tom Harris, the CFO. Just a small example, the private investments, these private equity investments, HarborVest, are not fully deployed yet, meaning we've committed a certain amount of capital, but the way private equity works is you say, okay, we're going to put 10 million in. They don't ask for 10 million immediately. They might ask for 5 million and then call the remaining 5 million as they have investments that they want to make or ready to make. So that email came to me, for example, which I immediately just forwarded to Tom Harris and to BlackRock because I don't even think it's appropriate for me as a volunteer board member to be handling those kind of administrative duties. So they do everything for us at a very reasonable fee, actually, I think.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Representative Fifik.
Hi, apologizes, I'm from District 3, and this is all relatively, well, being part of the RTM is relatively new to me. I have a background in asset liability management, working for various insurance companies. So I have a lot of questions. And I'm happy that you gave us the discount rate and the amount that's unfunded. I kind of disagree a little bit with what you said about the portfolio. I understand this is a long-term liability. However, I do think you have to manage to, meet your discount rate plus your unfunded at some point in time. So I don't say that you shouldn't have a benchmark return. I believe we do because we have those obligations. So I think in this report, it's really difficult for me to get a handle on what that is because I'm only seeing one half of the equation. I'm only seeing the asset side. I think the report should be more fulsome and we should see what's going on the liability side, maybe get some of the actuarial assumptions in. I do think, I don't know if we still have new participants going into the pension, but if it's like any other pension and I'm managing my own, if people are aging, then I do think you have to de-risk this portfolio over time. So those are just a couple of my observations. I kind of found this report a little confusing. I see that BlackRock has reported that we earned a 30% return on cash. Understand how they're doing the calculation. Just looking at, cash outflows over a balance, but I do think there's a better way to report that. This is the report that was on there. I also, I'm looking at the report that was online too, and the equity portfolio is reporting like an 8% return, and as we said, it's up double digits. So I'm having a really hard time understanding what's in this report relative to what's going on in the markets, and maybe this is something we take offline.
Yeah, well, actually, I was going to
Yeah.
say we should do that. And I'd be
Okay.
happy to get in as much depth as you'd like. But in terms of just the last thing you said, again, you're looking
I'm looking at the report that was
right,
attached,
which,
and I know that's, I
yeah,
know that's
and
wrong.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry that, yeah.
Yeah.
So just for what it's worth, the equity return for the fiscal year, and which is what I'm reporting to you guys now, was 15.3% US and almost 18% international.
Okay.
So I
it's
mean,
just,
one
yeah.
thing I will tell you, because you're asking great questions, we use ETFs, obviously. We went all passive for everything but the alternatives. That's a fight we had, 6, 7 years ago and
Yeah.
resolved to do that. And we're using the lowest cost possible ETFs that we can find. I don't want to say that for sure, but we're paying, whatever is 1 basis point, 1.5 basis points or something, fees on these ETFs. So we're going to get, for our equity and our bond allocations, which is the overwhelming majority of our portfolio, we're going to get the market. So when we, in our S&P 500 ETFs, we're going to get the S&P 500 minus 1 basis point, which is 0. So
Now, I understand why you removed the ETFs for costs, but has anybody taken into account the fact that the market has changed so much and that like the top 10 firms in the S&P 500 are probably like, 50% of the index, where I think maybe some active trading
It's-
might add some value?
great question. So it's probably more like 40, but anyway,
40, yeah.
what we haven't discussed is active management because we don't believe that active management can add value. That's our decision, or our opinion, I should say. We have talked about an equal weight. I apologize. I don't know how detailed we should get here. We've talked about equal weight S&P 500 ETFs versus the cap weighted ones, which is what you're referring to. All that means in a few words is that the way the S&P 500 is set up, the way the ETFs are set up is that the size of the firm determines how much of the index it is. So you all have heard about NVIDIA, for example, or Microsoft or Amazon, these gigantic companies. Because they're so big, they have become 40% of the S&P 500, meaning 6 or 7 or 8 companies, these, what do they call it, the Magnificent Seven, have become ridiculously outweighted within the index, which actually is very concerning for anybody, actually, and is a concern for us at the board. And so one of the options, there are 2 options. I forget your name, I apologize.
Ann.
And
Yeah.
one option would be to go to active management, which means you would hire an investment manager to make these decisions and to buy and sell these stocks. And he may say, or she may say, you know, I don't like this level of risk with these top 7 companies, so I'm going to make these changes. That's one way to do it. It comes with very high fees and historically does not work out. Or you could go into what's called an equal weight ETF, which is instead of weighting the companies by their sizes, meaning NVIDIA is so gigantic, it gives exactly the same weight to each 500 companies. So what would it be? 0.2%, right? So 0.2% times 500 equals 100%. So NVIDIA would be 0.2%, and whatever tiny company is the 500th company would also be 0.2%. That's one way to address the risk you're bringing up. But for what it's worth, over the last 5 years, for example, that would have been a calamitous loser in the markets. Again, doesn't mean it's not the right decision going forward. The problem with markets in general, and I've been doing this my whole life as well, is that no one, and I mean no one, has any idea what the markets are going to do over the next month, year, 2 years, 5 years, pretty much ever. And the best you can do is the best you can do. And that is to have a diversified portfolio that matches the risk that you're willing to take as an investor. And that's what I think we've done a pretty good job with, actually.
Sorry, how was the benchmark portfolio determined?
That would be something, for example, our OCIO would come back to us with. Well, are you asking how we're picking benchmarks for the different categories?
No, how the actual overall portfolio construction was developed, how much you have in equities
Yeah,
versus how much
yeah,
you have in debt.
that's a team effort
And how
between
and how
BlackRock.
often- Okay, and how often is that updated?
Speak about it every meeting, but we
But the
update
long
it.
term is not.
Yeah,
right,
I'd
okay.
say maybe, you know, never, so to speak. I'm being somewhat sarcastic, but yeah. I mean, we really do not want to be traders. We're not looking to be short-term active traders. We
No,
don't,
I
yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
But I would love at some point to sit down and perhaps.
Well, one
understand
suggestion I
better.
sincerely make is you attend our meetings.
Okay.
They're open and, you know, some people from the public come and we're very happy to have them there. And, you know, you're not allowed to participate, but you're welcome to, you know, listen and then send questions and so
Great,
forth.
thank
Yeah,
you.
we'd like that. If there's no other specific question, I'd like to just very quickly, and I know you guys have a
Let me
long
just make sure
meeting.
there's no other specific questions.
I was just going to give an update to
Go for it.
now.
Yep.
Okay. So, and I'm only doing this because I'm bragging. I wouldn't do it otherwise. We've we've had another tremendous performance from the end of the fiscal year, which was June 30th. This is October 30th, which is what, a month and a half behind. It's even better now than this. But we had 493 million in the fund as of the end of the fiscal year. We have 530 million now, and our performance to date, believe it or not, is 6.6%. So ironically, we've almost met our 6.9% discount rate between the end of June and the end of October. And then in the OPEB, it's even better. It's up 7.9%. By the way, the OPEB does better than the pension because it has a higher equity exposure. So when equities are doing better, the OPEB is going to do a little bit better. So I'm telling you those numbers because I should tell you the numbers, but I will also say that the markets could change dramatically, as you were mentioning, and we could obviously have a reversal. And next year at this time, and I'm giving you the report, it might not be so rosy. But as of now, things look very good.
Great. Thank you so much. Any other questions on this item? Okay, Representative Niffen.
Doug Niffen, District 1.
Might be a naive question, but with inflation heating up, how do you account for that in valuing your funds, your 500 whatever million dollars? It's a gain over the end of the fiscal year, but some of that value's been eroded by the inflation, the value of the dollar decreasing. Am I thinking straight about this?
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, but,
I'll thank you for that.
I'll give you a couple of answers. One is inflation's obviously a concern for everyone on many levels, right? Person's ability to buy groceries and so forth. Inflation can be your friend depending on how you're invested. Equities tend to do well in inflationary periods, not hyperinflationary periods, but modestly inflationary periods. Companies have certain amounts of pricing power and so forth. I will also, one question, which is a good question. Remember, we don't just earn our money in dollars, our obligations are in dollars. So both sides do match each other, right? I mean, I just say that inflation is just one of, say, 12 different items that we or any investment professional would consider. You know, obviously, it's more of an issue with bonds than stocks, probably, right? Because you get fixed rates on bonds generally, and then you get eroded by inflation. That is a real issue. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any online? Oh, Representative Fifik.
Just the question on the dollar, we do have some exposure to, or the pension plan has some exposure to indices outside the US. So they're reported in dollars, but I still think there's probably underlying currency risk there. That your assessment too?
Yeah, I mean, the internet, every single academic study or report from any brokerage house or research firm, independent or otherwise, will advise us to have a diversified portfolio domestically and internationally. Like I said at the beginning, it delivered really well this year. If we had no international exposure over the last 20 years, we would be in much better shape than we are. But nobody has a crystal ball. I mean, everybody has one backwards, but nobody has one forwards. And, you know, we're not following conventional wisdom just for the sake of it. We're following certain conventional wisdoms because they make sense for us. And it kind of makes sense to be exposed somewhat to the economic opportunities around the world, not just here.
No,
I think.
I totally agree, especially since, well, things are more global, so they're probably a little bit more integrated, but totally agree with developing a diversified portfolio, which is kind of why I was interested in the strategic asset allocation versus the tactical.
Is that it?
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Brockfield, for being
Thank you.
here.
And by the way, I wasn't just inviting you. Anybody here is more than welcome to come to our meetings. You may or may not find them interesting, but you're welcome to come. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is where we're going to do a brief change in our presentation order because we have Deputy Chief of Police Waya here, and he's got another commitment later. And so we're going to go now to agenda items 13 and 14, a DUI enforcement grant and the click it or ticket grant. Backup for both of these items begins on page 174. So thank you, Chief Waya.
Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate very much that you moved me up on the agenda. So these two grants we get every year, and for the newer members on the RTM, I'm happy to just kind of give an overview of what they're for and how they help us out. So I'll start with the DUI grant. This funding directly supports our continued efforts to enhance roadway safety, reduce alcohol-related crashes and fatalities, and advance Fairfield's Vision Zero initiatives. The DUI enforcement grant provides targeted funding for overtime enforcement, equipment, and administrative costs associated with dedicated DUI patrols and sobriety checkpoints. These operations will be conducted during high-risk periods such as weekends, holidays, and community events where data indicates increased incidents of impaired driving. This initiative also includes a strong public education component, emphasizing awareness of the dangers of impaired driving and promoting responsible choices through media outreach and community engagement. The anticipated impacts of this grant include increased visibility and deterrence through dedicated DUI patrols, a measurable reduction in alcohol-involved motor vehicle crashes and fatalities, stronger coordination with our state and regional partners, and most importantly, a safer community for all who live, work, and travel in Fairfield. And therefore, we respectfully request the board's approval to accept this grant funding for the designated period.
Thank you. Any questions? Representative Carson.
Laura Carson, District 4. Do you keep track of actual statistics that occur based on these grants, and if they really do impact year to year?
We do, we have to for reporting
And
purposes.
so could you give me like last year to this year, just so I have an idea?
I don't have the stats with me. I can follow up, but I can tell you that they have been high over the last 2 years and consistent. But if you want exact numbers, I can send that.
Wait, when you say high, what do you mean? Did you say high?
Yeah,
Meaning
a lot of enforcement.
A lot
and-
of oh, okay. I
yeah.
thought you meant like high crashes and DUIs.
No, no,
Oh,
no. The,
And it
Okay.
does look like there's some of that information in the backup as well.
there are some stats in the
Okay.
backup.
Yeah.
correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Representative Jacobs.
Richard Jacobs, District 8. This enforcement.
And I think you might need to talk a little bit more into the mic.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Richard Jacobs, District 8. Does any of this go to the Marine Police, since DWI on boats is enormously high when it comes to accidents?
This is specifically motor vehicle related, this grant.
Thank you. Other questions? Okay. And on the Click It or Ticket grant?
So the Click It or Ticket grant is a focused traffic safety operation designed to increase seatbelt compliance, reduce motor vehicle crashes and injuries, and enhance overall community safety through a combination of high visibility informant and public education. The operation will be conducted in partnership with state and local law enforcement agencies and will target high crash corridors and school zones, areas where data has shown lower seatbelt usage and higher incident rates. Our enforcement strategy includes roving patrols and fixed checkpoints, guided by real-time crash and violation data to ensure that our efforts are both effective and efficient. In addition to enforcement, the grant supports public outreach and education with coordinated messaging before and during each enforcement wave. This combination of education and enforcement has been shown to drive measurable, lasting improvements in driver behavior. Some stats that I do have for this one, during the last Click It or Ticket operation, we conducted 1,437 traffic stops, issued 398 citations, identified 279 seatbelt violations. And most importantly, we saw a 12% reduction in motor vehicle crashes compared to the same period the previous year, and seatbelt compliance increased from 92% to 95%. The benefits of this program extend well beyond enforcement. It enhances public awareness, increases the visibility of our officers in the community, and reinforces the shared responsibility of keeping Fairfield's roads safe. And again, we respectfully request approval to receive on the funds.
Thank you. Questions on this? Representative Georgiadis.
Drew Georgiadis, District 9. Good to see you again. For some of our newer members, can you discuss when you ticket someone, can you tell me the cost of a ticket for seatbelts? And can you explain, I think, does 75% go to the state and 25% go to the municipality? Or how do tickets, I know tickets work differently than fees and fines. Thank you.
Yeah, so every motor vehicle violation is, it's a different fee and a different percentage that the state gets, but you are correct. It is a high, the ratio is around 75 to 80% for the state and 20 to 25% for us. Back when I was giving seatbelt tickets, it was $100 per ticket. I'm pretty sure it has gone up since then, maybe around 150, but I can check on that for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Representative Kuhn.
Yeah, John Kuhn, District 7. Am I interpreting this right? The results and impact, you have 1,437 total traffic stops. And then there's 279 seatbelt and 398 citations. If I add those together, that's 47% of the traffic stops had either a citation. Seriously?
So,
That's crazy. That many people are not wearing their seatbelts, or
it would appear that way. Yeah.
wow, we should put more money into this. That's crazy. Wow. Thank you.
Representative Garskoff.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Josh Garskoff, District 5. Follow-up question. Are these random stops, or are they targeting people who look like they may not have seatbelts on and such?
So they're random as far as they're not looking for who might or might not be. We have to observe that, but we can also do a stop for another visible violation. And if it is observed or learned that the person was not wearing their seatbelt, we can take action on that as well. The target is the area. So if we identify a high crash zone or high risk zone, we'll target that particular area, but not particular cars or demographics.
But if you see something, you might also, somebody might get pulled over because there's of a violation that is witnessed by the officer during this. So I'm just trying to say this, the numbers could be skewed a little higher based on the location, and also officers seeing something that some of those citations might have been visual.
Right. So the way it works is if they identify the area and the grant says we get approval to perform in a given area in a given time for the purpose of seatbelt enforcement, the stops that happen during that time frame for that purpose are calculated as being associated with the grant. The intention is to identify people who are committing seatbelt violations. But there are times when an officer will stop a vehicle for a different violation, moving violation, equipment violation, and if they do in fact give a seatbelt ticket in that target area during the time frame of the grant, that will also count.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Pistilli.
Sharon Pistilli, District 5. I have, this might be a weird question, but younger generations are using THC more than alcohol, or, you know, it's kind of tipping in the other direction based on my general observation. So does this grant, like, is there, I'm just wondering how we measure THC impairment, and if the legalization of cannabis has thwarted our ability to like measure and stop people under the influence.
So the interesting thing about motor vehicle laws pertaining to marijuana use is that unfortunately I could see a vehicle drive by me with someone actively using marijuana. And if they're not committing a moving violation, that in and of itself is not probable cause to stop that vehicle. And a lot of people don't know that. But should the vehicle commit a moving violation and it is discovered that the person is actively using marijuana at the time, then we can conduct sobriety tests on that person.
Thank
So then,
you.
but there's no measure, there's no like blood test, right? Like, I mean, it's sobriety test would just be like a roadside,
If
touch
it-
your nose,
it's a
walking a line.
It's a sequence. So if you fail the on-site tests and we develop probable cause to effect a custodial arrest, at that point, it would be either a blood or urine test to detect intoxicants in the system.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Representative Fiffick.
I think it's, you know, great that we're working on, you know, having people wear their seatbelts. I, you know, did a lot of work in the actual department on personal injury cases, and it was mind-boggling how much of them were related to seatbelts. Where do you think the greatest impact has been? Has it been on from traffic stops or on messaging about wearing seatbelts? Just curiosity.
It's hard to say just how much effect the education component has. It's definitely a box that we have to check. It's definitely something that we emphasize. In a perfect, you know, world, utopian view would be that all of the educational aspect of it would eliminate the problem. But unfortunately, that's just not the way it works. So there's really no there's no quantitative data, I guess, on the educational aspect.
Thank you. Additional questions? All right. Thank you, Chief Waya, for being here.
Thank you so much.
All right, so now we're going to go back to our original presentation order. So we have some appointments and reappointments. Prior to this meeting, I checked in with both caucus leaders who agreed they did not feel it was necessary for people being reappointed to commissions to appear before us again. So I've only asked this evening for people being appointed for the first time to come before us. So the first, we have some appointments to the Harbor Management Commission, which is agenda item number 7, and backup begins on page 41. So up first, we have Michael Baisley. Mr. Baisley, welcome. Could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd like to serve on this commission?
Sure, happy to. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mike Baisley. I'm a 20-plus year resident of the town of Fairfield. Work in Manhattan. Have raised my children and family here in town. We're in the Stratfield section of town, but big users of the of the seaside generally, and of Southport Harbor in particular, mostly for fishing and walking our pets and things like that. I joined a couple years ago as an alternate to the Harbor Master Commission, or the Harbor Management Commission. I've really enjoyed my time on it, learned a ton with everything that's been going on in the harbor, the dredging project, a couple shoreline construction projects and rebuilding seawalls, and various other subcommittees that I was involved with. So I'd be happy to serve again in a more as a full member of the commission, and I look forward to giving back to the town.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Baisley? Oh, Representative Walk.
Jay Walk, District 5. I don't have any questions, but I have a comment that, Mr. Baisley, we know you from many years with your wife in Girl Scouts with my daughter. And and thank you for stepping up to being a full-time member. So you have my vote.
Most people know the Baisley women more than the Baisley man.
Thanks. Any additional questions? Online? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Baisley. I'll let you, we'll have the town clerk let you know if you need to appear next week, but unlikely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Michael Nishal. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing. Welcome. I'm going to ask you the same to just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd like to serve on this commission.
Yes, it's Michael Nishbal from
Thank you.
Middlebrook Place, 67 Middlebrook Place. I'm just going to read the first line of my application here and my reasons to serve. That's kind of the passion, and then we can get into the practical, but it'll be brief. I often tell people here and around the world that Southport Harbor is the prettiest harbor in Connecticut. Its historic preservation and boating and leisure activities are indeed a valuable aspect of what makes Fairfield such a great town and such a well-managed town. Thank you, all of you. I mean, I think it goes to all the commissions and all of the people who serve. Great. The practical end of it is I have a mooring in Southport Harbor, and I also live on the Mill River. So I'm connected to this waterway from the beginning to halfway up the end. I enjoy the birds, the wildlife, and just the great outdoor aspect of it all. And I want to work really hard to keep it preserved and managed as it has been in the past. The practical is that I was a consultant in the construction business. So I actually have sat around tables a lot and got consensus from people and listened to what they had to say. So that's what I bring to the table here. And I thank you all if there are any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, online. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. We now have some appointments for alternates to the Harbor Management Commission. This is agenda item number 8, backup also beginning on page 41. First is Michael Evans. So welcome. It is apparently a prerequisite to be named Michael if you want to be on this commission.
I noted that when we were with the select.
Yeah.
That was my main
reason they.
That's
I
your
was-
main qualification. Great. So
don't have to-
besides having the right name, could you tell us about yourself and why you want to serve as an alternate?
Well, I'm Michael Evans. I'm a retired mining engineer. I've only been in the Fairfield area for a year and Connecticut for a year. I'm following grandchildren here. I've been on the ocean and sailing small boats for most of my life and have enjoyed the ocean in doing it. And that's really the reason I've come to be wanting to be on the committee is I was with the Fairfield Sailing Association and enjoyed sailing the ideals out of the harbor and realizing that it is an asset to the city and I would like to try to help to maintain it for the city. Professionally, I'm a mining engineer and did construction and engineering jobs all around the world, many of them on rivers and harbors and in the ocean. So on the side of saying, what can I bring to the committee? I think I have professional experience with dealing with the type of issues that have to be dealt with around a harbor. I offer that as what I could bring to the
Great. Thank you so much. Any questions for Mr. Evans? Representative Georgiadis.
Georgiadis, District 9. Thank you for stepping up. Just an FYI, even though we're 62,000 people, we like to call ourselves a town, not a city. We think of ourselves as slightly bucolic, so just be warned.
I appreciate
Thank you.
that because I'm learning many new terms in the.
Thank you. Any other questions? Online? All right. Thank you. Last for the Harbor Management Commission, Michael. Michael Veer as an alternate. Mr. Veer, could you again tell us about yourself and why you'd like to?
But Michael Ver this time. I'm a mechanical engineer.
And you know, I'm sorry, I don't think we can hear you. If you want to make sure just to keep that a little closer.
I'm a mechanical engineer and I've done most of my training in the UK, where I originally came from, and came to Connecticut as chief engineer of Dore Oliver's boiler division in Stamford in 1986. So we've lived here 40 years now. I started sailing when I was 12 to 14 with my father on a 24-foot offshore boat. And I later sailed 20-foot boats and built up a 24-foot boat myself in Cowes Harbour in England. And and I also sailed other big boats and learned both navigation and Royal Ocean Racing Club boat racing on boats up to 2 tons, which are about 45 feet long. I came over to Muskegon, Michigan originally. We emigrated in 1981, where I bought a boiler company in Michigan and sailed my boat. It was shipped over. My CNC 34 and sailed my friends Peterson 42 in the big races in Chicago Mac and Port Huronton Mac. As I mentioned, I brought my boat with me here and moored in Milford, as Southport had such a long waiting list for moorings at the time. But I met people here and sailed with Pequot Yacht Club from that time, even when I had the boat in Milford. I also did about 4 Bermuda races on other people's big boats and a transatlantic race as navigator of a Whitby 56 in 1992 from Spain to San Salvador, which is where Columbus pitched up originally. Later, with the same owner, I helped commission an Oyster 82 in Southampton, England, and sailed it to the Channel Islands and then down to the Caribbean. And I had the honor to sail with that gentleman for some 15 years in that boat in the Caribbean, and we sailed it back to the Mediterranean and cruised both the Mediterranean and Croatia in that boat. Although I haven't had any formal harbour management experience. I've got a good friend in Cowes, was Captain David Bates, the senior Trinity House pilot out of Southampton, who piloted, for instance, the QE2 and even the USS Forrestal, the big aircraft carrier, into Portsmouth, or parked it outside. And I knew the Cowes Harbour Master Commander, Henry Wrigley, quite well. And we did a lot of liaison work with him. I also was inshore navigator for the Canadian Admirals Cup team in 1979. In Cowes Harbour, by the way, is the regatta town where the America Cup started in the bottom of England. I hope to help the Harbour Master in Southport, Brian Leclerc, and the Commission regarding the beautiful harbour we have here in Southport. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we all want to hear more about those adventures. But any questions for Mr. Veer? All right, thank you. Oh, Representative McCabe.
Michelle McCabe, District 4. I just wanted to say very briefly how wonderful and impressive it is that we have the 4 Michaels before us with so much experience who could be out sailing on their boats, but are stepping up to volunteer for the town. So I just want to say how lucky we all are that we have such skilled and talented people to volunteer. So thank you.
That's very kind of you.
Thank you. So thank you to all 4 of you. The town clerk will let you know if you need to appear next week. I don't foresee that needing to be the case, but she will certainly let you know if that is. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, we have another, yes. Yes. Correct. It is a simple majority. Yeah. Thank you. All right. All right, so now we're moving on to agenda item number 10. We have Angeles Papageorge from Fairfield Public Schools to present on a bonding item, and Superintendent Testani, a bonding item for a turf field at Fairfield Ward High School. And the backup for this item begins on page 68.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. As the moderator mentioned, this is one of 3 bonding items that you have before you tonight. The first one is the Ward High School turf field. This project before you is to install approximately 80,000 square feet of artificial turf field at the Ward High School campus. The purpose of this.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can everybody hear?
I'm sorry. Is that better?
Yeah.
You have to talk on top, please. So the project before you is to install approximately 80,000 square feet of artificial turf field at the Ward High School campus. The purpose for this request is to improve player safety while giving the athletes of Fairfield Ward High School competitive edge, keeping them in line with other districts across the state. The project pricing takes into account the restrictions of types of infield placed on the town of Fairfield through the process of the RTM. This pricing is done using an alternative fill. It's called a Brock SP17 shock pad and absorbent, and it's all natural versus the chrome rubber that has been controversial in the past. So we did look at another alternative. By making this switch, we extend the player times on the field through the spring and summer, and we also increase the ability to get back on the fields after rain or other weather events before you. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so I saw Representative Georgiadis.
Hi, Drew Georgiadis, District 9. Can you define all natural?
All natural. So yes, so it is not the Brock fill. This is a Brock fill system, and I actually pulled up.
And I can also remind members, and for new members, I think it was 2022, as a town ordinance, we did ban a certain type of the rubber infill.
So the one that we are looking at is it's considered an organic fill. It's a Brock fill. It's an engineered wood fiber. almost made into like almost like a sawdust. Very similar in product to what we use on the playgrounds at the elementary schools now. It's a wood fiber.
Thank you.
I saw Representative Nichol and then Pfiffic.
Thank you for presenting to us today. I don't have a smart ass question, but I kind of do. Scott Nichol, District 7. Have you done any soil testing?
We have done soil testing, and this pricing does include the removal of some unsuitable soils that are on the site, but we've determined at this point, from the limited testing that we did, we do not have contaminated soils there, but there are some unsuitables that would be removed in part of this pricing.
Thank you.
Representative Pfiffic.
Just two questions. You said that this artificial turf will improve the safety for your athletes, and that's relative to grass, or just relative to the other type of artificial turf?
It's relative to grass in general. I know there's a lot of controversial right now about some football fields are going back to natural grass. Those are fields that are allowed to rest between games, so whereas our fields are used nonstop, so they don't have that rest time, so they become very compacted and very hard as natural grass fields.
Great, thank you. And then just the second question, just in terms of for the $2.3 million bond, I see that the costs don't include other things such as like poles and lighting fixtures and et cetera. Where is that money coming from for those additions? And has it been budgeted already? Yeah.
There was no talk about adding lights to this field at this time. There was some talk about if the funding allows for the room to do some infrastructure work under the field. So if something were to happen in the future, we wouldn't have to dig up the new field. However, we do have the stadium, which does have the lights, sound system. So the field we already have a stadium at the field. This would be more of a midday games and practice area.
Thank you.
Representative Larson.
Yes, Gil Larson, District 2. So the location of this field is the grass field next to the football field, the current football field?
It's the field to the left of the walkway to the football field, behind the baseball field, where lacrosse and other sports are currently played, soccer.
Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
I have Representative Diamond next on my list.
Hi, Craig Diamond, District 2. My question is, why is this a bond allocation as opposed to just part of the budget that was education budget that was approved previously?
So this falls under the capital projects for the town, so that's why we go out for bonding on those.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Representative Jacobs.
Richard Jacobs, District 8. I have a number of questions on this. The fields, the old type of field had a 30-degree to 60-degree difference between it and grass. Does this also have a 30 to 60-degree difference in temperature in daylight?
These fields are engineered so that they stay cooler for the use during the day, during sunlight. I'm not sure what you're.
Are they saying this as cool as grass?
They are saying they do not stay as cool as grass. There are steps you can take to mitigate that and help with that. One system calls for, it's a different type of system other than the Brock system, but they call for sprinkler systems on the artificial turf. That's one of the reasons we went away from that type.
Are you familiar with the Barcelona study, which had to do with plastics in the Mediterranean?
That was the chrome rubber. That's why
they were actually the green little blades of grass were floating in the Mediterranean as part of the Barcelona study. Do you have any ways of stopping runoff?
So this this project will have to go before the commission for runoff, and this is actually a wetlands area, not wetlands, but it is controlled with runoff up there. This part of the field actually does have some of the controlled water from the current stadium there, so that will all be counted into the design work for this project.
Are you aware that California recently had enabling legislation so that towns in California and cities in California can ban these type of fields, not only on public property, but on private property?
So I do know that, again, back to the town's decision to ban the chrome rubber types of fields, that's why we went with an alternative type of field with this project.
There's also, the European Union is now en route to ban all microbeads and any type of microplastics, which would not only have to do with the fill that that was originally used, which was the ground up tires, but it has to do with the little grass green things also. So the European Union right now is working towards total ban.
I was not aware of that.
And final question. These things usually last 8 to 12 years.
That's not accurate.
What I got off the internet. Gotta believe the internet. And if they are 8 to 12 years, are you budgeting, and how would you get rid of and recycle it at the end of its life?
So this is a 20-year bond, and we anticipate 20+ years on this. We do have an extensive maintenance program with all of our turf fields in town, the school's turf fields in town. They are GeoMax tested every year for safety. They are cleaned on a yearly basis, and they are also repaired. Any we call it the carpet, the green parts as you were talking about. Any small tears or repairs is all inclusive in our contracts with our vendors to keep them well into their 20+ years.
And at the end of the life, how are you going to recycle it or get rid of it?
We follow the same DOT regulations for materials. It would be removed just like any of our other chrome rubber fields in town now. They remove the chrome rubber, they remove the field itself, dispose of it properly, and then lay new field down and then reuse the existing infield as much as possible.
Is that
So it's a
in your
recycle as
budget?
much as possible. We don't keep that in our budget. We carry it on our capital waterfall out the years. So just like these projects before you today, you'll see them on our capital waterfall. And in the fall, so late September, October, you'll see our capital waterfall updated, and it always has these projects on there.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have Representative Kuhn next.
John Keane, District 7. So is this field going to then make the fields at both high schools equal in terms of numbers of turf fields? Okay. Yeah, right.
Access to the new fields in town.
Okay.
And it will now allow our student athletes to get home at a reasonable time, because currently the turf field with the rotation, with the grass, many practices are getting over with, or games at almost 9 o'clock. So this will shorten the need, and we hope to get some revenue through rentals as well, now that we'll be getting off the field sooner.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Carson.
Laura Carson, District 4. Is this material the same as the Roger Ludlow? It's new, right? And what's,
Ludlow. This is a new material. Ludlow
are they
was.
gonna feel bad that they don't have the new material?
No,
I'm just-
very similar materials, but Ludlow was the last field allowed with the chrome rubber system.
And just so I understand, you have in the backup, we have Exhibit A, which talks about Roger Ludlow Middle School and the high school coming in at 500,000 and 412,000. And now this is 2 million. Is that because of this material? Or
It's slightly because of the
explain that?
slightly because of the new material.
That's a huge,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not even the right numbers. Oh,
Nope,
okay, I didn't,
Wrong
that
different
makes
project.
project.
sense to me. Okay, thank you for the clarification. I was gonna say, that's a huge,
That's the next project.
it's in this one, isn't it? Oh, okay, I'm not in it. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Representative Britton.
Peter Britton, District 1. I did want to commend you on the fact that the last time we did the turf field discussion, that thing got all the way up to 5 million, as you might recall, for the Ludlow. And this being a 2.3, I think is a deal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Additional questions? Oh, Representative Rodriguez. Oh, and
Thank you, Chris Carroll, District 8. A few questions. One, following up on Richard's question about the temperature. What are the standards? Who monitors in place when the field hits a certain temperature that the kids are off the field?
It will be that woman right there, the athletic director at Fairfield Ward High School, in conjunction with the trainer that's on site.
How many fields are there in town that are turf?
That
How many turf fields do you manage at all the schools,
we just manage.
including this one?
This would be our fourth.
Okay, so
Third, I'm sorry, third. Tomlinson is not ours. That is Parks
there's
and Rec.
two, there's one at Roger Ludlow Middle.
No,
there's
the
one at-
Roger Ludlow's the town.
there's a difference between town fields and the
Right.
public
So
school
we
fields.
manage the stadium at both high schools, and this will be the third that we'll manage.
Okay, so you're gonna be at all three fields. Who's gonna actually,
So no,
who
so the
sets,
athletic director and the trainer at Ludlow manages that field. And Gina here is the athletic director at Ward, and the trainer at Ward will manage these two fields that are side by side.
and with the field at Ward, was there any time last year that the athletes were pulled off the field because of temperatures?
I don't recall at Ward last year, but 2 falls ago, we had an extremely warm fall, and there was a good portion of the preseason in August that we had to move practices to earlier in the morning or later in the evening. The trainers do a wet bulb reading, and they go by the CIAC medical handbook for guidance.
Okay. Thank you. Just a couple questions, because there's statements in the backup, and I'm just curious about the data that supports this, that this allows for more playing time. And what I've heard is, it rains, we can't use the grass fields, but we can use the turf fields. Do we have any data that says how often the grass fields were pulled, activities were pulled from the grass fields, but we were able to keep turf fields going? Or is it just, it feels that way? You don't have to present it. If you have it, we could get a copy of it for the RTM.
Yeah, I can email it to you.
That'd be great.
And we can actually distribute this if you want to take it, but you'll get an
Okay.
electronic copy as well.
Yeah, that way, if you got an electronic
What
copy,
you can
we
do
could
actually,
share
if
that.
if you have copies for everybody
Yeah.
now, that's great. Yeah, and then we'll take a copy and make sure it gets added to the backup.
What you'll also notice on the list, because she kind of laid out what this past fall looked like
Yeah.
and what it will look like with the additional turf field, you will see a lot of the late into the evening, as I mentioned a few moments ago, be reduced. So you don't have kids getting home at 9 o'clock at night after practice, or kids having to leave and come back. Some of those disruptions will now disappear. Kids will be able to get on the field immediately after school and then get home to do homework, eat dinner, and do all the things that,
And the fields are rented out in the summer?
when available,
Okay,
when available.
okay. Just the injuries, you make a couple statements in the backup that it's safer. And to Richard's point, I assume you're saying safer than grass?
Well, again, as Angelus mentioned, when you have grass fields in professional or collegiate stadiums that are used very sparingly, the ground gets to rest. If you recall, 2 years ago, we did ask for some monies to re-level Sturgis Field. Because of the divots and the gaps. We had a couple of student athletes that were injured in lower leg extremities based on the unevenness. So it is a lot of upkeep if you're going to maintain a grass field, and very expensive to do it properly.
Right, so, but we don't have any data for, and I guess we'd have to work with Parks and Rec and the schools to understand, is there a difference? Is one creating more injuries, particularly severe injuries? I mean, again, it's not Fairfield. All I know is I read up on the data. It's still creating more problems with ACL injuries, particularly in girls, on the artificial turf fields. And so what I'm wondering is, again, I see statements that it's going to be safer, but I don't know that we have any data locally that says it's safer.
Well, and to that point, I did some of the same research that you have over the last several years on this topic. And I think there's an increase to injuries, but there's also an increase to the amount of turf there is nationwide. So more kids are playing on turf than on grass. So in essence, there will be an increase to injuries on turf because more kids have access to turf than ever before. No one's installing grass fields anymore, especially just given the cost. It's a one-time cost with some maintenance annually, but you get so much use out of it. So naturally, there's going to be an increase to injuries in proportion to the very limited time that kids are now playing on grass fields.
Yeah, I will share the data that I have with you guys and the RTM board, which it's on a per field basis. The other thing is there are towns around us. I'm pretty sure it's Westport, maybe Stamford, that are going back to grass fields for these very reasons. But I'll get that for you.
Stanford just installed a new turf field, I believe, last year. I don't know of any fields at Staples that are going back to grass. Wilton just put a new turf
But
field.
we're a town body, so we're talking about the whole town, and what's going on there. You also mentioned that there's a savings, in maintenance. Do you have any idea how much we spend maintaining grass fields versus, you talked about the maintenance contract for, the turf field that's part of this?
So this, by completing this turf field, we would have to go back out to bid for our maintenance for our fields. So we would have to wait until we were at that step to figure out exactly what the savings in dollars are. But there are savings because our current contract requires it to be trimmed once, sometimes during the high peak growth in the summer, twice a week. We have contractors out there mowing, trimming, blowing all those fields, whereas this becomes more of a monthly sweep and look at rather than daily, weekly, and sometimes twice a week maintenance on them.
Do we have any idea on an annual basis what we spend
I could get
cutting
you,
the grass on a field?
I could get you the contract numbers.
It'd be really helpful because we'll spend $80,000 in interest a year on this bond. So that's got to be an offset. You know, are we spending more? It's just in a different bucket. So I'd be curious about that. Okay, that's all I have for now. I'll submit a few other questions.
Thank you. I had Representative Rodriguez.
Thank you. Tracy Rodriguez, District 6. I'm new to the RTM, so bear with me as I get caught up to speed on all of these issues. One quick thing that I did see online here, the quote of the 8 to 12 years as well. So I'm just curious your source on when you said that that's not factual. Mr. Justani.
No, we plan on, because having this field for 20 years. I mean, that's the current, both of our current turf fields, upon replacement in 2 years will be almost at 20 years. That is the natural life if maintained properly, if it's swept, if it's weeded, it's cared for properly.
Okay. My biggest question actually is really just around student safety, microplastics, chemicals that are used in these. And I know you're looking into alternative to what was just put in at Ludlow. So I do appreciate that, especially as a parent, but looking out for everyone. I'm curious what the protocol will be for as this research comes out, as we're learning more, because turf is still newer. Who's monitoring that? Who's like kind of looking into our student safety from that perspective Like, is it sort of once these are installed that we keep them, or is it, no, we realize we made a mistake? Like, I'm just curious how you guys plan on looking into student safety.
I'm not quite sure. I mean, there is a lot of data that these fields are not that new. I remember the first turf field, this field turf, so to speak, not the old AstroTurf, being installed at Norwalk High School when I worked there 24 years ago. I mean, so I don't know relatively when this data is going to come out, whether it's safe or not. I think we've had millions and millions of kids play on these fields. I think there'd be bigger concerns when it comes to plastic, when it comes to some of the things that we consume every day with water bottles and all the packaging for food and other things that are probably more problematic than playing on a turf field.
Yeah, I'd love to tackle those as well, but I guess I'm just concerned about it going in and then it being like, okay, it's approved, we're done here. As we're seeing, even just from an environmental perspective, we're already changing. I guess turf overall is not, you're saying it's 24 years ago, but if we're already changing material because we're seeing a negative impact from something we just installed, I don't have the date. When was Ludlow installed?
Ludlow High School or the current Ludlow Middle was just completed a few months ago. Ludlow High School's been almost 20
The
years.
one that keeps sounding like Chrome, but is Crumb.
The Ludlow Middle School was the one that was just completed. And if I'm remembering correctly, that was, the project was initiated before, there was the last one that could be done with the chrome rubber infill, which is no longer something that's allowed to be used in town.
And the Chrome, just sorry, again, this is me getting the Crumb.
Crumb,
thank you,
sorry.
The Crumb. That is me getting up to speed. That ban is largely because of the environmental impact or the safety or both?
It was a number of different things that were brought up. It was a July 2022 ordinance that the RTM passed, and I just am blanking on the particulars of it off the top of my head right now, but we can look.
Yeah, I think that's my point though, is that this is something that's relatively new that's already being asked to change because we're seeing something. So even though this new one that's more like sawdust is looking better, like, I don't know, I guess I just have concern over these types of materials and if we can really see data, like almost to Mr. Carroll's point on like, are we really seeing fewer injuries? Are we really seeing that we couldn't just invest more into the grass fields? I know it seems outdated to you, but I don't know, my generation's very concerned about these fields.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have Representative Waldron next.
Cindy Waldron, District 3. I think I'm just building off on some of the things I've heard first with the runoff and now to your point, Representative Rodriguez. My daughter played a lot of soccer at Ludlow and every time she came home full of black, like pebbles, it's runoff, so to speak, to go back to Representative Jacobs' point, is what I'm thinking that is. I don't know what it was, but it was constantly everywhere. In her cleats, just everywhere, my car, you name it. And you just mentioned that Ludlow's field is close to 20 years, so she played a few years ago. So toward the tail end of what is acceptable, or maybe
That's
not,
just
I
the-
don't know, is
That's
that,
the infill. That's the crumb rubber that is used at.
and that's acceptable, because it was
Well,
always
that
very
was
troublesome to
acceptable.
me.
That's not going to exist in this field, correct?
So this new field will not have this happening, is what you're saying?
Correct. Well, it's going to have a different infill.
It'll have a different thing that's coming off and
Well,
coming home with the kids.
it's a more natural organic material. We could also, in the bid, there are turf that uses a sand infill as well.
I don't know, I'm just curious as to how
mean, all the
soon
kids
that, so
current-
you're
all the
saying that
kids-
happens all the time and from the get-go
Well,
or
it's-
just after use?
From the get-go. It's, I mean, it's what's sticking.
It's part of
Well,
the,
if they're sliding or falling, it's.
all
like-
of the above are
it's like-
happening.
It's like if you played in, you go to the beach, you find sand everywhere, right? When you leave.
Yeah, but
the
that's a
beach.
natural thing.
Yeah, that's not
That's not
at
a,
all.
No, I
you can't
understand.
compare the
No,
sand to.
Well, this is an organic material as well. And currently the kids all get access to the turf. We're not.
Oh, no, I know.
Yeah, no, I
I'm
know.
not saying they're not.
And then
I'm
when
just
they
saying-
go on the road to play games, they're playing on turf.
Oh, I'm well aware. Lots of games
Yeah,
plugged in. I
yes.
get it.
When they
So-
play in the summer, when they play on their travel teams, they're playing on turf.
Trust me. Been to all of them. I get it. I'm just wondering if this is a typical thing, that we're gonna see the runoff, so a lack of a technical term, that it's gonna be, that's acceptable, I guess. I don't know.
Thank-
Safe. Thank you.
Thank
That's the
you.
word I'm looking for.
I have Representative Blanchard.
Thank you, Rob Blanchard, District 6. Despite not being very athletic, I know more about this issue than I probably should, which is why I'm kind of surprised that we haven't gotten email inquiries from constituents on either side of the issue, either parents of student athletes or environmentally aware neighbors, I guess I'll call them. I know that in the back of it says that this will meet all environmental and safety standards, and that's certainly reassuring. I just want to make sure that we are actually engaging all the relevant stakeholders, whether it be members of the Board of Education, parents, student athletes, certainly athletic director is on board, athletic personnel, and that everyone is on board with this proposal. I know that, to your point, Superintendent Testani, that you're right, a patchwork of banning crumb rubber would only work if every town that every team plays on did it, whereas some fields will have, in other cases, may not. So I know that that's not necessarily going to be effective, but this issue certainly can create a lot of concern around off-gassing, cancer, injuries. And I know that there's a lot of costs with grass fields, pesticides, what you use to treat it and maintain it. So I do think that this is the right approach. And I certainly hope that we're going to continue to make sure that we're meeting all standards, that we're looking at best practices of other towns, because a lot can happen with these fields in 20 years. And what is certainly ahead of its time now could be outdated soon.
But to your point, we did receive several emails from parents from the ward community in support of this at the early stages to petition the Board of Education to approve this project as we've gone through this process and ultimately seek your approval.
Okay, great.
Would you like us to have them all email you?
I'll be refreshing my inbox till midnight tonight, I'm sure. But I certainly hope that we're going to, like I said, continue to collaborate with environmental, inland wetlands, student athletes, parents, and make sure that this is going to be a field that's best for them.
Well, we intend to comply with all regulations when it comes to drainage and proper capturing of water, just like we would if we were installing, I did it when I did my home 10 years ago, a new driveway, right?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I had Representative Georgiadis and Representative McCabe.
Oh, Drew Georgiadis, District 9. First, I want to give a shout out to the RTM because I was on the RTM when we passed the ordinance that banned the crumb rubber. My boys played at Ludlow and they did come home with lots of crumb rubber in their things. We spent months and months working on this, exploring alternates, looking at, like Representative Blanchard said, the use of pesticides on grass, the amount of water used for grass, which, given the limited amount of field space we have, my kids were getting injured on the dirt. I mean, it wasn't even a grass field, it was hard dirt field. So, and the pesticides, and it is a confusing space. So, but I'm confident that all our hard work getting rid of the crumb rubber was like a huge accomplishment for us. So just shout out to us. My last question is to you. When you provide the information on costs that Representative Carroll, please, I know we all think of as water as free, but can you include the cost of water and pesticides that would be used on a grass field, so we have a comparison of both? It's not perfect. We all wish we had tons and tons of space to have grass fields that were soft and grassy, but it's a tough situation. So hopefully we can find the best possible compromise. So thank you.
Thank you. Representative McCabe.
Sorry.
Representative McCabe, District 4. I just have two questions. The first one is, would you mind explaining a little bit more in detail the opportunities for rental of these fields? I know that it gets really confusing with the fields that are Parks and Rec fields, even though they're in schools, and high school fields, which I was I had the understanding that those could not be rented. So if the district can rent, who do you typically rent to and what's the revenue typically for them?
Very little and very infrequently because of the amount of time that our student athletes have to access the field. So with the ordinance that prohibits us from having the lights on beyond, I believe, 9 p.m., except if a football game at Ward goes a little bit longer, we don't get much rental at all on this field because, as you can see, our student athletes often don't get off the field until 8:45 sometimes. So there's very little rental availability. Now, that will increase with the additional turf field. There will be some opportunity in the evening to get a couple of hours of rental if people go into our system and follow the procedures to request rentals.
First, I do want to say that I prefer that our student athletes use them, so I certainly am not looking to rent the fields. But again, out of curiosity, who normally would rent the fields?
Fairfield Youth Football, lacrosse, soccer folks. I mean, anybody that has travel teams mostly. Yeah, we don't host tournaments per se, except there is a fundraiser, a lacrosse fundraiser, Sticks for Soldiers that we do offer fields at no charge for.
Thank you. And then my second question is piggybacking on Representative Rodriguez's question. Because there is oftentimes new information that comes about the safety of materials, et cetera, I'm curious if there is a contingency since we have a vendor that is being paid to consistently maintain. It's not something that just sits there for 20 years and then whatever. I'm curious if there's anything built into a contract or whatnot that allows for, let's say, worst case scenario, there's an element of the field that's discovered to be carcinogenic. Like, is there an insurance policy or something that gives us an opportunity to actually replace something that is proven to be particularly detrimental?
So our maintenance contractors do not do field replacement projects, so that would not be something that they would do. Just something else to keep in mind, I myself am a member of the Connecticut Schools and Grounds Association, so every time new information comes out on this stuff, it's shared with us. We have monthly meetings and emails that go out about any updates or changes to things that happen throughout the state of Connecticut and beyond. So we do stay on top of that, and we do hear of any changes that come out.
But even so, given that, is there any like special insurance or first, I do want to say thank you. That's great. And it does certainly put my mind at ease that there is such a group and that they're on top of things like this and that you meet regularly. But I guess the question I have is what happens if you discover something that is, let's just say, so worst case scenario, so bad that you have to like close a field? You know, is there anything that protects us from that?
Yeah, so I was just going to say, we always consult with the town attorney prior to signing any contracts for him to take a look at, to see if there's any exposure, any language that would be specific, that would look out for our interests. So that would be definitely something before we entered into any agreement with a contractor, that Mr. Piers would take a look at that and suggest any alterations to whatever contract is provided to us. And that's how we usually operate. So we would not just blindly enter into an agreement that would put us at any risk or our student athletes at any harm.
Sorry, I know and appreciate that. I guess what I'm saying is, and maybe this is something that we can ask Attorney Pierce if this would be in his purview, is given there is some uncertainty with the safety of turf fields, have communities put into a contract some sort of protection if some sort of detrimental ingredient is discovered to be problematic, that there is some recourse, or, if the town has to tear up a field and replace it because something is really wrong with the materials. Is it not normal for a contractor for there to be insurance or something?
Yeah, I'm not sure how to answer that. I would have to consult with him. But any product we would use would have some sort of industry stamp of approval. We're not gonna be the guinea pig on a new project.
Thank you. Before I go back to follow-up questions from people, is there any representatives that haven't spoken that had a question at all? All right, so Representative Rodriguez.
Thank you. Is this still on? Good. Can you hear me still or no? There it is. Thank you. That was such a great point. Yeah, I wonder if there's any pushback onto those companies to ask them to look into being able to do that for the materials. And I just wanted to confirm, so I understand that we're changing the crumb, but the grass blades are plastic still and the padding as well are both not organic materials that are there any, I don't know, as you can tell a lot about alternatives in turf fields, but I'm assuming those materials are still problematic.
I wouldn't say problematic. I mean, they're commonly used all across the country. All the way from town fields, all the way up to the NFL and professional sports. So I don't think that we would consider them problematic, or we wouldn't be here today.
I don't think using the NFL standards of safety are necessarily great. I guess my other thought is too, when we were talking about to Mr. Blanchard's point about hearing from constituents and whatnot, I know that the Fairfield Public Schools Green Team came to speak at the Board of Ed Town Hall last week with serious concerns about this, about other fields in town. So, and you were saying a lot of parents are speaking pro, and I'm wondering if there are any opportunities, again, pardon me being new here, but for those groups to kind of hear the point of view or the perspective of the others so that we could sort of see why someone on the green team is so anti, why someone on the, I have a athletic child and this is what I want. Like, how do we get those conversations going to weigh the pros and cons?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, we've had a couple of folks, I mean, not even a handful that spoke out against it. But other than that, we've gotten significantly more folks that are pro installing a new field there. But I mean, we're not going to just halt because there's a handful of folks that may not like it or prefer something else. I mean, that's not how we usually operate.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to answer the questions.
Thank you.
I mean, there's different perspectives, but we have to land somewhere. We believe that this is the right thing for Fairfield Ward High School and for our athletic department as we move forward.
And is there any, for Ludlow with the Crum Field, are they looking into changing that? Like, it seems like it kind of just got by.
So the new field that was installed at Ludlow Middle, if I'm not mistaken, is a town field.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just coming up to speed on which is which too.
Okay. High school?
When we replace the current stadium at Ludlow High School and the current stadium at Ward in a couple of years, we will go away from the crumb rub as
Thank
well.
you. That was my
Yes,
question.
absolutely, yes. And to be honest with you, I don't know why the Fairfield, the Roger Ludlow Middle School field could not, I mean, it was just recently completed. That could have been transitioned to a different infill as well after the ordinance. So I can't speak to why that was not done.
Thank you. Representative Fiffick.
This might be more of a comment than a question, but getting back to Representative, McCabe's questions on liability and whether or not the manufacturer could be held accountable, and all of the other safety concerns. Is there anything in the town insurance policies that would increase as a result of moving from a grass field to something that where people may be more injury prone, or there could potentially be litigation down the field for you know, carcinogenics or things like that? I think that's one way to kind of assess how much incremental risk we might be putting at.
Yeah, I don't think so. We currently have two fields that are artificial turf.
All right. Representative Garskoff.
Thank you. Josh Garskoff, District 5. Did I just hear that a turf field went in with crumb rubber after our ordinance was in place?
That's an excellent question that we should follow up with.
Parks and Rec about.
It's a Parks and Rec field. Yeah.
Wait, did he say that?
So can we make a request through you for an answer about that? Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And Representative Carroll, who I know is busy writing down his follow-up questions.
I'll get that. Just, and this has nothing to do with the safety concerns or things. What is the manufacturer's warranty? How many years do they guarantee the field?
So that would be part of the bid process, would be to determine how long they're going to manufacture it. We typically ask for 2 to 3 years for manufacturing defects, but then there's also take into account the install defects. So there is a gray area there and when we go out to bid, we can specifically put into our bid documents how long we want them to manufacture the fields. Again,
They've probably got a standard that they have. If you ask for
Yep.
more, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah, Gina just provided me with some of the documentation. The standard is an 8-year warranty, and there is the possibility of an additional 2-year extended warranty on seams and inlays only.
Okay, but and what you're telling us is Ward and Ludlow High School have lasted, what, 18 years at this point?
Roughly, yes.
Okay. Good maintenance.
With proper maintenance, correct.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions on this item? Any online? Oh, sorry, it does look like it. Is that Representative Barron? And just FYI for members online to also put your name in the chat because we can't always see the hand raise. But thank you. Go ahead, Representative Barron.
Thank you. Thank you guys for coming tonight. Shout out to Giacomo. You were my high school coach. So love to see you here. I think my question, I appreciate everybody on the RTM for their points and questions. I think sort of my follow-up question is, I think from my own personal perspective, about the usage of the Ward field, their grass fields are kind of just not working in terms of like the amount of activity that's happening on the field and the volume of usage of the field. And so my question is, for maybe the concern for people potentially of this turf is what would be, or is there another alternative? Just because I can understand maybe there being too large of a gap between grass and then a new type of turf. But I'm obviously, like I said, someone who's in the camp of understanding that the grass field is just not really working for the town's needs or the school's needs. And so for those people who might be nervous, is there sort of like another option, or is it really in terms of safety and the research that you all have done, either grass or this turf option?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not another alternative. And if there was, it hasn't been tested yet, or so again, we wouldn't want to be the first.
Yeah.
But it's an either or at this point to maintain the grass we currently have, or approve the turf field as presented.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions from members? Okay, I think, did First Selectman Vitale?
Hi, everyone. Christine Vitale, First Selectman. Just to follow up on the question about the Roger Ludlow turf field.
Thank you.
I checked with Mr. Calabrese. That was EnviroFill. It was not crumb rubber.
Thank you.
And that was brought up when the RTM voted on that. So it's not the same, and appreciate the conversation. But this, just a reminder that what's before you tonight is not a crumb rubber
Yes.
field.
Thank you
So
for the
just
clarification.
if somebody tunes in late, I don't want the public to think that that's what you are
Yes.
considering tonight.
And thank you for the clarification about the Ludlow field. Okay. Before we move on to the other FPS items, any last questions on turf field? Any online? Okay, so our same presenters are going to continue with agenda item number 11, which is the paving project at RLMS and Fairfield Ludlow High School. The backup begins on page 71 for this.
Again, this is a bonding resolution before you. This is to regrade, repave the front parking lot at Fairfield Ludlow High School and Roger Ludlow Middle School. The Roger Ludlow Middle School parking lot was installed and is original to the building in 2003. From the best research we could find, the Ludlow High School front parking lot is of that vintage, if not slightly older. We couldn't find any records of when that one was really redone. What you have before you is to repave both those front parking lots. This project includes regrading, doing some revamping work to the Ludlow High School parking lot because there's currently underground junction boxes from old light fixtures that used to stand in the middle. So we would be removing that. In addition, we would also be making this parking lot safer and last longer by installing infiltrators under the ground and putting curtain drains in so that when the snow is removed to one corner of the parking lot, it gives the water runoff a place to go underground as opposed to running across the parking lot, refreezing overnights when temperatures drop and making slippery conditions the next morning, which continues us to continue salting the parking lots days after storms. Salt is not the best for the parking lots, but it's a safety necessity that we do. So again, any questions on these projects, happy to answer.
Representative Garskoff.
Thank you, Josh Garskoff, District 5. I know we're trying not to bond paving for roads.
Yep.
What is the policy about bonding paving for school parking lots? Because there's just a never-ending bonding process of constantly paving, at least for roads.
So my understanding is one of the reasons, the big reason for not wanting to bond roads is because you do a 20-year bond and you don't get 20-year life out of a roadway, whereas a parking lot, we will get 20 plus years out of it because it doesn't have the traffic flow as a roadway does. That being said, we do carry in our operating budget every year to do smaller paving projects around the buildings. However, these two are very large projects and would have quite the damper on the operating budget if we were to have to move them into there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Representative Jacobs.
Richard Jacobs, District 8. When you were going through this originally, did you ever consider permeable blacktop?
We've looked into permeable blacktop. We are not increasing the square footage of the current parking lot, so we kind of veered away from it, especially because of the cost increase for permeable pavement. It's quite significant.
Thank you. Additional questions? Representative Kuhn.
I seem to usually answer this or ask this question of Anthony, but I'm going to ask it of you, and I've asked it for years. John Kuhn is District 7 plastic paving. Any other alternatives you look at?
We haven't, mainly because, as I said, we weren't looking to increase square footage. We were simply doing a replace in kind. So we were looking to do replace in kind. Any alternative type of pavement over the replace in kind would increase the cost of this project quite a bit.
Do we know that? I mean, the lifespan, and I would be surprised if you had looked into the plastic paving.
The
The-
permeable pavement
No,
is
not permeable, plastic.
the plastic. I'm not very familiar with the plastic.
Yeah,
We've-
that's the thing. It's not.
we've,
And
uh,
I'd really wanted Anthony to do it when they did Gould Manor or when they did the two pickleball um, uh, courts because I was hoping we could find one that would do plastic and one would do regular, so we'd have a real side by side comparison. But nobody ever looked into that. I guess that's Anthony thinking that I should do that. But
we would be happy to look into that and possibly look at a smaller type area that could be done as a sample for this. But to do these very large, expensive parking lots, I think to try something new to the district would be
A, learn how to press the right button, and B, I'll try and get some info to you that I have on that so you know more about
very
it.
appreciative.
Thank you. Additional questions on this paving project? Representative Carroll.
Just one quick question. What's the criteria for why this needs to be done now? I just happen to drive those parking lots a couple times a week.
In
I
the-
haven't hit any potholes recently.
Well, in your backup, you will see there are quite significant potholes and cracks in them. We actually just as late as last week had a staff member get injured in one of the parking lots walking through the parking lot. A heel of their shoe got stuck in a split in a crack from the cold weather and was injured. So they are in very poor condition at this point.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. One more item for Mr. Papa George, agenda item number 12, which is the bathroom project at Fairfield Woods Middle School, and backup begins on page 79.
So these are the Fairfield Woods Middle School bathrooms, some of which date back to 1954 and have not been touched. We still have the high pink colored tiles in some of them and the blue tiles in other of them. They do not meet ADA compliance in a lot of areas, and they are old and worn. And at this point, we did a Ludlow High School bathroom project a few years back, as you guys remember. We are chipping away at doing bathroom projects throughout the district. So this would be the next school on the list based on the condition of the bathrooms at the school. This is, again, just like the Ludlow High School project, for those of you familiar with it. It's not just a facelift on the front of the bathrooms. It's a full integration into the water systems, drainage systems to ensure that we get another 60-plus years out of them.
Thank you. Questions on this item? Anybody online? All right. Thank you for your time this evening,
Thank you all.
gentlemen. All right. I think our last presenter for this evening is online. So Troy Deering to present on agenda item number 15, which is a grant at the Recycling Canopy Transfer Station. Backup for this item is beginning on page 178. Mr. Deering. Able to unmute himself. Mr. Deering, are you still there? He has to be unmuted. Oh, there he is.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you so much.
Hi, thank you everyone for taking the time. Let me get the camera going too. Hi
There
there.
we
Sorry,
go.
sorry about that. My name's
Problem?
Troy Deering. I think I've met some of you and spoken with some of you on various things in the past. I'm a project manager with the Capital Projects and Operation Division. I'm here today to seek approval for some fund acceptance and expenditure for the recycling center down at the DPW yard with John Marsilio, our previous DPW director. He had applied for and accepted and received a grant from the American Association of Energy, and that was intended to be used at the transfer station to help be more efficient for recycling services. Now, most of you are familiar, there's various small dumpsters down there that take in mixed use recycling. But some are open containers, some are, it's a variety now. So their goal with this project was to have one large trailer. Think of a tractor trailer with an open top. And now we will be able to drive up to the upper level and throw all our mixed use recycling down into this trailer. And it's going to be covered up by a three-sided steel shed that's erected to help protect from the rain. And that way we can be more efficient with our off hauling. It won't be multiple individual dumpsters. It'll be one truck that could hook up directly to this. And it'll also be protected from the weather much better than it is currently. So, because especially with cardboard, when it gets wet, it can't be recycled any further. So I'm here to answer any questions, but to ultimately ask for permission to spend the grant, which was for the 124 amount, and then also ask for permission to spend the balance out of a DPW expenditure for NIP funds that was received from the town from the NIP fund program.
Thank you. Any questions on this item? Representative Carroll.
Yeah, I have one question for you, and you know, I haven't been doing this long enough to understand all of the town process. But you're asking for us to approve this grant, and I go there once a week, and the shed's done. So I'm trying to understand, has the money already been spent and now we're approving it? How, and I'm sure that's not true, I hope. But how does this, can you just give me the timeline on how all of this works?
Yeah, sure. So typically, the grant will be, it has to go through the three board process twice, actually, the acceptance and of the grant from the state or the feds, which in this case, and then we have to go back through the approval process of all three boards to actually spend the grant. So that's what the process I'm in now. This was taken, I think, in 22 or 23. And now I'm going through the permission phases to actually spend the money.
Okay, but that wasn't my question. My question was, it appears, based on the signage that's on it, that the shed is done. The shed's already been built, so the money's, for all practical purposes, been spent. Or is the grant reimbursing the town for money that we previously approved?
So you're correct in that as well. This is a reimbursement grant, but when the town originally accepted the grant, it was for all intents and purposes for this project only. So back when that was accepted, it was for the purpose of the recycling canopy. It was set aside when we finally put that into action and went out to bid this year. We knew that it was only going to be spent for that and that only. It came in slightly over the original accepted. That's why we're doing the balance for the NIP fund. And now I'm asking the permission to actually spend that money in order to pay the contractor. Releasing the grant funds, essentially.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Questions online? All right. Thank you, Mr. Deering.
Thank you. Take care.
So seeing no other questions and no other items, this meeting is adjourned at 9:23 p.m. And so we'll see you all next Monday. We don't need to.